What's going on, motherfuckers? Throwing together a quick update video. I know it's been a few days, but I figured I would throw a video together today because tomorrow looks bloody. So I just wanted to prepare everybody for that. Tomorrow, more than likely, is going to be more red and a new all-time low on AMC. Nothing has changed. Nothing. No goalposts have been moved. We're not pushing dates out. Our macro resistance is set in stone. This video should be pretty quick. I'm going to touch over a few things before I get into AMC, and then AMC is going to be relatively fast. This play has become very simple. So the first thing I want to talk about is this supposed market crash. So we'll start with that. So this is Dow Jones, which formed a new all-time high last week. Is currently pulling back to retest. This is Dow Jones. I'm just showing this is all-time highs. We're going to start with the indices, and then I'll get into AMC. So Dow Jones all-time high last week, and continuation this week, and now pulling back. NASDAQ all-time high this week. NASDAQ new all-time high this week. So now that's Dow and NASDAQ both hitting new all-time highs within the past 2 weeks. SPY has continued to the upside. Local high here, 475.89, which is pretty much the last line of defense here, the final resistance point before all-time highs. Currently cooling off. I still am leaning that we are going to see 460 before we move higher to retest the macro breakout here in green. This green horizontal line running across here, 460 on SPY, I mentioned multiple times, is a very big deal. We broke out of it recently, so a continued upside, new 52-week high after new high, up to 476 roughly, and now cooling off, just consolidating sideways here. I'm leaning we pull back. The other case would be we just continue higher, and in order for me to be bullish short term here, I want to see a new local high, breaking 476. And if we don't do that tomorrow, which I'm assuming we're not going to, I think tomorrow is going to be bloody. More than likely what happens here is SPY pulls back to 460 to retest the macro breakout, which is completely fine. I mentioned it's going to happen. It has to happen. This will be tested. And like I said, I prefer it test now rather than continuing to all-time highs first. So that is now SPY, which, by the way, this local high here was $4 away from all-time highs. So now we have Dow Jones, new all-time high 2 weeks ago, continuation this week. NASDAQ, new all-time high this week. SPY, $4 away from all-time highs. Russell 1000, pretty close to all-time highs. $1, $2 away from all-time highs here. Pulling back here with the rest of the market. Looking for more upside here, looking for a new all-time high on Russell 1000. Russell 2000 is a little bit behind, has been chopping here in this parallel channel, just trading sideways, but it looks like is about to break out, pushing 200 here, fighting to break out. Once it does, it's all upside here. It looks great. The market looks very, very bullish. There's no other way to put it. All indices are pushing all-time highs or very close to seeing it. Russell 2000 is lagging behind a little bit, but is in the process of breaking $200 here, which is a big deal. Just like for SPY, breaking 460 was a big deal. For IWM, breaking $200 here is a big deal, and it will see continuation to the upside and start heading for all-time highs. Now let's get into AMC. And I'm going to be very brief about this because this is very simple now. It's a very simple play at this point. So we'll start with the macro, which obviously has not changed, never will change. This is AMC's macro from IPO. You have your January and June equivalent peaks in the green and yellow, as you see here. Your bull phase of AMC and your bull phase of AMC, very similar levels. And then your bear phase of AMC and the current bear phase of AMC, which again, very similar levels in both. And in both bear phases, taking you all the way down to pretty much zero. Not actually to zero, but very close, all the way to the bottom in both bear phases, the previous and the current. and you have your macro resistance trend here, which I will be going over in the next slide. This is the most important trend line on AMC, and we are getting very, very close to it. So this is the macro in its entirety: bull phase, bear phase, bull phase, bear phase, and we're at the end of the bear phase, looking for a bull phase, i.e., a squeeze. And obviously, the next time that we do get our bull phase here, our squeeze, the price targets will be higher than what we saw in January and June. Hence the 1400 price target, the 3.618 fib. Now let's get into the downtrend side by side once again, because I'm going to talk about this again because this is very important. So looking at AMC's downtrend side by side with all of the noise removed here, starting with your macro break here in the blue box, which is the gap down from the top. So coming down here to your first bottom, consolidating, and then finding your way back up to this rejection point, which is your macro resistance line. This was the previous cycle, first touch point here, the current cycle, macro break gap down, sideways consolidation, drop down, chop here, and then climb back up and find your way to your macro resistance. Your first touch, clean rejection on both, coming down again and back up for your second rejection on both sides, and then not finding the resistance again all the way until the flat portion, where you get these three peaks here that you see here. It does not touch the trend on either side, and then the W fake out move, which pokes you above the resistance. That is your third touch on the resistance. From there, pulling back into the resistance and getting your second and third bottom all-time low that you see over here, your second and third bottom all-time low. Clearly, the all-time low landmark was not in. I mentioned multiple times, and nothing has changed about this, AMC's macro sucks. It's a shitty macro. It's brutal to go through, especially in the bear phase here. It's January 15th, over and over again, reiterating, forming lower highs and lower lows all the way down. Lower highs and lower lows all the way down to your all-time low landmark, the lowest point of the previous bear phase. Your third bottom all-time low landmark is your reversal point. When this point is reached, you form an uptrend, you break the macro resistance. That is your fourth touch on the macro resistance, and you get a straight line to the moon. That is what we're looking for now. So the only thing that happened here is that this third bottom all-time low was not in. So we're approaching our third bottom all-time low. And again, the flat portions of both cycles is roughly a year, the previous 2020 to 2021, and the current 2023 to 2024. Now, this is the macro resistance. It's the macro halt line. So I want to talk about that now because we're getting very, very close to it. So this is the exact same thing that I just showed you without the markers. So your first touch, your second touch, clean rejections on both, halting on both. Your third touch is the fake out, and now we are approaching our fourth touch. And I mentioned this in my last video and the one before that, and I'll say it again. Through all of this downtrend, the range of these candles, big swings up and down, all the way through the macro until the end. And this was on very, very low volume. And at the end, we are just chopping here pretty much sideways, completely flatlined on all-time high volume. And zero is right below us as we are approaching our macro resistance for the fourth time. Now, I'm almost positive AMC is the only ticker in the market that has a macro resistance line such as this. They all have macro resistance lines, but the difference is that AMC has halted off of this trend line every single time that we've touched it. I have not seen a single other ticker that has a macro resistance trend that has halted off of every time that we've touched it. I could be wrong about that. If somebody knows, let me know, because genuinely I'm curious about that, which I think speaks volumes, as well as the volume being at all-time high levels as we are completely flatlined here and approaching our macro resistance for the fourth time. So this is the view in the entirety of the downtrend, the macro resistance of AMC. Now we're going to zoom in to this right here and look at how close we are to the macro resistance now. So here it is. And yes, we formed a new all-time low yesterday. And yes, we formed a new all-time low today. Like I said, all this means is that the bottom is not in. Like I said, AMC's macro is January 15th repeating in the bear phase, breaking to the downside, forming lower highs and lower lows all the way down until you reach your all-time low landmark, which is the reversal point. And from that point, you break the macro resistance and you straight line. Like I said in my last video, and I'll say it again, when we break this trend line, we are going to straight line ridiculous percentages to the upside, like we saw in January of 2021. We are definitely expecting that again, as this is our macro resistance and our macro halt line. So just zooming in now, because we are getting very, very close to approaching this trend here. Now, we've been dealing with this resistance on the micro for a little bit, this trend line here in red. So our first rejection here coming down, first rejection, our second rejection, chopping down here. We broke out of it and we failed. Came back into it and then rejecting over and over and over again for the past month, rejecting off of this trend line. And rejected off yesterday, found more downside, a new all-time low, and today a new all-time low. Now, this trend line at this point is pretty much irrelevant because it's essentially our macro resistance now. This point here, January 4th, 2024, this micro resistance that we've been dealing with down here for the past 4 months converges with our macro resistance. So January 4th, this trend line will be irrelevant. I was saying that this play has become very simple, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that right now. And like I said in all my past videos, I'm being fully transparent. There's 2 ways that this plays out. Number 1, we break our macro resistance line and we straight line to the moon. That is the most likely scenario. The other scenario is that we reject off of this trend and we head for 0. The good news is we'll know by the end of next month. Friday, January 26th, 2024, our macro resistance line, this trend line, our macro resistance line is intersecting 0. This is a now or never deal for AMC. And the bottom is probably not in. I'm just going to say that now. We are more than likely going to see more downside tomorrow to it, I would say mid $5 range. At the same time, I'm still not ruling out next Wednesday, which is 7 trading days post OPEX, December 27th. What that would look like, more than likely would be a red day tomorrow, hitting mid $5 range, and then there's no market on Monday. Tuesday would probably be the V day. So Tuesday potentially, if we do hit mid 5s tomorrow, Tuesday would look like a hammer candle or some kind of doji, maybe a dragonfly doji. And then we're not, this is just my opinion, we're not even going to uptrend. We're not going to uptrend into this trend. We're just going to hit the bottom, wherever it is, and we're going to gap up. Which is that's not unheard of. For example, I could pull up a ticker that's done that right here. It's a perfect example. Downtrending all the way down until it reaches a point, you get a hammer candle at the end, and then you gap up. That's what we're expecting for AMC. I do not see a scenario, I do not see a world where we come lower here to mid $5 range and then start uptrending into this trend. I think the way this plays out is we are going to be red until the all-time low landmark is in, which it's complete air under us. There's no levels under us. So I'm not even going to try to speculate where that level might be, but we're going to be red until the all-time low landmark is in. And when it is in, we are going to gap up to the moon, breaking our macro resistance line. That's it. This, like I said, just very simply put, this play has until the end of next month. Our macro resistance line is hitting 0 January 26th. If we don't get the gap up 7 trading days post OPEX, December 27th, It has to be January. There's no other way. It has to be January. Because if it's not, we're going to meet this trend again because we're going to continue to move to the right here. And if we don't break this trend, this ticker is going to zero. Now, I don't see a world where that happens. I'm just saying it because those are the two outcomes here. Those are the two possibilities, meeting our macro resistance trend again. I'm just pointing it out. I do not think this stock is going to zero. If somebody can make a case for AMC stock going to zero by the end of next month, I'm all ears. But I don't see it. So with that being said, we're going to be breaking this trend line and going to the fucking moon. So that's it for the video. Prepare yourselves for blood tomorrow, and more than likely market-wide. AMC is going to be red tomorrow. And along with that, I would not be surprised if SPY was, and the rest of the market with it. It looks like we're going to be retesting 460 here before we move higher. I would love to just move higher now, but I don't mind whatsoever coming down to 460 to test the macro breakout. That's it. That's it for the video. It's do or die. It is now. It's quite literally now or never for this stock. So that is everything for today. I will probably not, maybe, depending on the price action tomorrow, if we just rip the Band-Aid off and pull back to mid-5s, I will probably be making an update video tomorrow. If not, I'll try to get one out before Monday. Just expect blood. Expect blood tomorrow, and going forward, we're at the end of the road here. There's no runway left. We are meeting our macro resistance. It is zero. Quite literally, it is zero or moon. And this is before the end of January. So that's it. That's it. That's it for the video. I know it sucks. It's not fun. It's painful. This macro fucking sucks. There's no other way to put it. So with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next one.